Well, so I'm talking here with composer Kim Planert, who's working on various TV shows with Robert Duncan, and is going to be composing the upcoming ABC show Missing with Robert. But to start off, how did you get your start in music, and what led you to composing for films and TV?
It's quite a long story. I'll try to keep it short. And it's certainly not a straight line. Started playing drums in bands when I was 12, so quite late. And lots of different bands, like big bands. One of the first bands was a Van Halen cover band, rough and ready kind of style, and went on to total cover band. But I was also writing for some of those, and that led into sound engineering for these bands, because engineers usually didn't cut it. Then I kind of slid into that area, and I started studying for an audio engineering degree in Frankfurt at the School of Audio Engineering, and finished off with a BA in engineering in Scotland. I liked the country, and I went there for holiday quite often. So I kind of got stuck in Scotland, but I also found work there as an engineer. And there I stayed 10 years, working on a lot of different projects, 40 albums roughly. I produced some of them.
Wow.
And, things were going really well. But I really felt like there was something missing, no pun intended. And I was still writing at the side, and I was so lucky to work with Craig Armstrong on the Bone Collector for a session.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I really fell in love with his music, and the immediacy of FMM.Music, it cuts all the crap of showing off as a composer to distill it down to the emotion. Anyhow, I did some other soundtracks there with other composers, but, that really got the ball rolling. And I tried to really change lanes in Europe from engineer to composer. But the Europeans are quite, boxed in their minds. And, if you're established as one thing, it's not like you can suddenly do something else. That's just not how it goes. And here comes the changing lanes part. I also started skydiving at the time, and I did a license in the US, visiting a friend. And as it happened, I had a demo with me. That was in North Carolina, Charlotte. I walked into a production company and talked to the boss right away. Something unimaginable in Europe. You just don't. A few weeks later, they asked me to pitch for their $10 million movie.
Wow.
I didn't get it, but I got second. And that just told me, you have to try this in America. They like your music. And then, that's not easy going to America, visa stuff and all that stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine,
that extra hurdle. I could have probably written a whole symphony at the same time I spent on the visa stuff. Anyway, so the one way to do it was to study film music. And I wrote to a couple of universities, and the UNCSA replied to David McHugh. We are very good friends now, over the last few years. And he gave me chance to study there for an MA in film music.
Wow.
And he saw some talent somewhere and called me over, and I did that for a couple of years. He really got the right thinking, to think what the film needs and the instincts. He helped me develop and really, break all the rules of normal music writing.
Right.
And so that was a great opportunity. And then after that, I pretty much hit LA straight away. So that's the road that led me to Rome.
Well, it sounded like a very interesting road, though. And everybody, I know everybody has their own separate path, and it's always interesting just to hear how people get to where they are. So now you're in LA, and you're working with Robert Duncan. How did you meet Robert and end up collaborating with him?
Pretty much right after school. I just did a little stint in Aspen. There was a film music workshop at the festival, and while I was there, I checked the Film Music Network webpage. Very handy page.
Mm-hmm.
There was an anonymous advert for an assistant, and could have been team making. I applied and pretty much forgot about it. 2 months later, 3 weeks after I arrived in LA, I got a call. It's Rob. Who? And we hit it off right away. And a week later, I started writing with him on the unit.
Wow.
That was incredible. Just after getting there.
Yeah.
Pretty much so quickly.
So when you got started with Missing, you've worked with Robert Duncan for a while. So and you were doing additional music with him on a lot of shows. So how did you become his co-composer on Missing?
I was doing Castle at the time. Missing started, and I joined in episode 4. From episode 6, I'm actually getting full credit, which is pretty amazing for a composer to share the main title card. And Rob developed the sound. So in 4, I joined in. And we're so compatible musically that's not really a problem, it just locks in. And the other thing I wanted to mention is we're always trying to, make it sound like a movie score,
right.
Despite it being television. And it makes sense because it's, movie actors, Ashley Judd and Sean Bean.
So I know there's composers like Wendy and Lisa who do television, but how does a 2-person composing team, how do you split up that, the workload? Do you guys, do you split episodes? Do you alternate episodes? Do you work on the same ones?
Usually it's the same ones, but it's 4 years now. We've been working together, and we know each other very well. And it's like 2 friends working together. He's so experienced and has done this a lot longer than I have. And basically, we look at the storyline, and then there are usually different lines in one episode, A, B, C lines, and I guess we split it by that. And also who has how much time available.
Right.
That's pretty much it. So it's about like 38 minutes of music in there, roughly, which is quite a lot. For
an hour show, that's a lot, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's TV.
And so for Missing, what was the goal that you guys wanted to do? Did you want to try anything different that you didn't do before, or was it, did you guys? So how did you approach the show?
Missing is different in the sense that it's about a mom looking for her son that had got abducted. She happens to be a CIA agent. That's where the action part comes in. But the core of it is that emotional connection. And Gina Matthews, the producer, she really encouraged the emotional angle, and she loves strings and sweeping lines, and it's not a normal action score,
right?
Nowhere near. And the other thing we did was use a lot of organic percussion. Trip to the junkyard. Rob found a typewriter.
Wow.
Yeah, that's quite prominent in a lot of chase scenes. And yeah, it's creating a new sound really every time. But despite it being different sounds for every show, we're very compatible musically.
Right.
And by now understand each other kind of blindly, I would say. I stopped counting at 20 hours of music that I've written. It must be about 30 now. That we worked on together, and that's quite a lot.
That's so. Looking at working in television, I mean, you've worked on multiple shows, but for what's the typical work schedule like for a show like Missing? How long do you usually have to work on one episode?
About a week, sometimes 1.5. They push the schedule a little bit, so that's always very lucky. It's like, thank the Lord.
How close have you ever gotten to the deadline? Like, what was the closest you ever been to where?
It's always close. Always work to the last minute.
Yeah.
Usually they're already mixing the show while I'm still writing.
Wow.
And that's normal, and you're so used to it that it doesn't really faze you anymore. The workload is so well divided that we can really calculate it quite nicely. You just need to know the speed you're writing at.
Right.
And then you can just break it all down and be very safe of providing it in time. And really, the TV schedule makes it sensible to work as a team.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So when you're composing for a series, are you, because you said you talked about how you try to make it more like a film score. So are you working? You probably have an idea of what the whole season is like, and are you keeping the whole content of the season in your mind? Are you trying to build arcs over various episodes? Or are you just working in the moment at the current episode?
We have no idea how it will go on.
Oh, really?
We just get the video every week. And that keeps it a lot more interesting and fresh, and that way you look forward to it, what's up for the next week. Just like any viewer would, really.
Mm-hmm. So you're kind of watching them as the audience is watching them.
Yeah, only a week earlier.
Just 1 week.
Yeah, but it's not that much different. You're totally getting into the characters and want to know, what's going on.
Right. So, so this is working, for television. Did working on past shows with Robert, like Castle, The Unit, and Lie to Me, that kind of act like as a training ground for you to get better at the scheduling and all that?
Oh yeah, it's perfect. Rob, with all his experience, he was checking my cues pretty much daily. At the time, I was still working mostly from his studio, and he just come over, ask him a few questions. He would sit down, change a couple of things, and it's a bit like tennis. It's a real collaboration, and his instincts are so spot on. It's ridiculous sometimes,
Yeah.
Admiration is very important, I think, when you're working with somebody or in any partnership, the respect.
Right.
That's really nice what we have. And we're having a lot of fun as well.
Well, that's the important part.
The greater the schedule, the funnier it gets, really. Yeah, the dirtier the jokes get. At 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah, because I used to be in that. I used to be a filmmaker. Well, I am a filmmaker, but I graduated from college, and I haven't done any production stuff in a couple of years, and I miss that kind of schedule where you're in in the recording
And the
studio.
trenches.
Yeah. So we in our audio class we had to do, I forget what we had to do some kind of a audio narrative just through voices and sound effects and everything. And we came in at 8 o'clock at night. We left at 11 a.m. the next morning. We were sleeping on the floor in shifts and stuff.
Yeah. But really, that's not ideal. And when you're doing a TV show, it's a little bit different on a movie. It might be 2 months or something. But if you're doing a TV show, that's 9. The castle is 9 months, roughly. If you don't keep a regular schedule, that can be a real problem.
I'll come back and bite you.
And by the 4th season now, I have a good rhythm.
Yeah.
Again, it just wouldn't work if you wouldn't work as a team.
Right. Which I love. I mean, I'm a big supporter of collaboration. I know there's a lot of, I guess, tradition.
It's a lot more fun.
Oh yeah. Why work alone when you can work with somebody else?
Yeah.
As long as the other person is, a pleasure to be around with,
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing with Rob. He has never ever, had a harsh word, despite all the pressure we're under sometimes with several projects going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Always pleasant. It's really cool.
It makes the difference.
We have also another couple of writers, Layla and Tom. It's a nice atmosphere, nice team, and we're supporting each other a lot.
Well, that's good. You guys are doing great work, and to wrap up, to finish up the interview, I always like to ask composers if you had the chance to score any film ever made with no disrespect to the original composer, what film would you choose?
Yeah, I checked out a couple of your interviews and noticed that question coming up, and I was thinking, it's really hard. A straight off answer would probably be Braveheart because I've got the Scottish connection.
Oh, God, that's a good one.
I'm really into Scottish history as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they would have to reshoot it historically accurate. But another one would be, and here this might be an interesting angle. The first film score I noticed was as a young kid in Germany. There is a story that they made into a movie by a writer called Carmine. It's Winnetou. It's about a Native American Indian chief, and a bit like Last of the Mohicans. Nobody knows it here. It's a German Western. It's crazy.
Wow, that sounds
and
interesting.
Really funny. Really funny and really kind of naive at the time, but it's still, we grew up with it,
Yeah.
Freedom fighter. And even in 20 years or so, when I've done another few movies or TV shows or whatever, that comes around, that would be a really nice thing to do, if they remake it or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess westerns are my favorite genre. So I definitely I want to check that out. Then that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Kim.
Nice.
And,
all the best.
You too, and talk soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Great. Bye for now.